Peter Schweizer, welcome to the program. I have read many of your books. We've had you on for all of them. I think, Peter, this is the most important book you have written yet.
Well, thank you, Glenn. We have worked together for a long time. That means a lot to me. Thank you. It's one of those issues that we've talked a lot about in general, which is immigration, but the book is really about weaponized immigration. And it's important. We've had the conversations about how immigration affects the economy, how it affects our culture. But when we realize this is actually something that's being wielded against us by countries like China, but also Mexico, with a real agenda behind it, an agenda, by the way, that I quote them as explaining in the book, I think it puts the immigration debate in a whole different level.
I have to tell you, I learned more in the first 2 chapters about Mexico that horrified me. Because I've always felt good about Mexico. You know, they have problems with the drugs, and I felt bad for it. They are not. They're not doing us any favors at all. And we'll get into that here in a second. Can we start with chapter 1? And if you don't mind, Peter, I may have to ask you to come over and join me tomorrow as well, because I don't know if we're going to get past the first 2 chapters. There's so much meat in here.
Sure.
But in chapter 1 is proof of concept, and it starts with Jimmy Carter and Fidel Castro, and I don't recall any of this. Can you take us through that?
This is back in 1980, the Mariel boat lift. And a lot of people that were around will remember that the United States was flooded with Cuban refugees. And Jimmy Carter, when this first started developing, said, we're a compassionate country, which is true. We're going to welcome them with open arms. And Fidel Castro told his top aides, well, we're going to fill their arms with excrement. He used a different word. And this was really the first modern example of weaponized immigration, because what Fidel Castro recognized was we can actually attack the United States by sending them criminals, people that are mentally ill, but also people that are going to set up criminal networks, drug networks inside the United States. And so what we thought was a sort of random humanitarian event was actually a targeted attack. And I quote from a government panel that later looked at the Mariel boat lift and concluded that it was probably the 3rd most lethal foreign attack on the United States. Besides Pearl Harbor and 9/11, the Mariel boat lift was probably the 3rd most lethal attack. And the thing that's so genius about what Castro did is, Pearl Harbor and 9/11, you attack us, what happens? We strike you back harder than you hit us. That's the American way. If it's a humanitarian attack through immigration, who do you attack? Who do you launch the military against? So it's genius, and this became a template for a lot of modern Latin American leaders. In the summer of 1980, when this was unfolding, Fidel Castro goes to Nicaragua to meet with Sandinista leaders, and there's a young revolutionary there named Lula, who later today is the president of Brazil. And he sets up an entity called the Sao Paulo Forum with Fidel Castro, which includes progressive leaders from across Latin America and in the United States, the Democratic Socialists of America, which is Bernie Sanders and AOC's group. And the Sao Paulo Forum has weaponized immigration against us today. And that includes the Morena Party of Mexico and Petro, the leader of Colombia, and a whole host of other countries who have adopted this as their strategy to defeat the United States.
Okay, so lay that out more carefully so people understand you're not just making that statement. This is a very well-organized, well-financed, and well-executed plan that is out in the open. Just none of us have ever seen it or heard of it.
Yeah. And look, again, this is not Peter Schweizer asserting this. I mean, there are quotes throughout the book from leaders explaining what's going on. You mentioned Mexico. And I always thought of Mexico in the context of, okay, you've got kind of this hapless government and it's corrupt and they're kind of glad for mass migration because now they don't have to feed their own people. The reality is, in their own words, they view immigration very differently. But Glenn, this is from a government report. This is a report written by one of President Sheinbaum's top aides in December of 2024. It says,
okay, hang on just a sec. Sheinbaum, in case you don't know, is the president of Mexico. This is 2024, president of Mexico. Go ahead.
Yeah. We already know that the Mexican population in the United States reaches 39.9 million. We Mexicans are reclaiming our territory. That's from December of 2024. Here's a powerful senator who's also a member of the Morena Party, who sits on the National Defense Committee, which is the most powerful committee in the Mexican Senate. Quote, we Mexicans are in our territories: California, Nevada, Texas, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Wyoming. We're going to take back the territory that was stolen from us. And, you know, Glenn, you hear these quotes and you think, okay, well, maybe this is just bravado. But as I point out in the book, they have actually created a network and infrastructure inside the United States. And this infrastructure, this includes Mexican government officials inside the United States who are organizing violent protests like those that hit Los Angeles, those that are in Minneapolis, and they are actively participating in our politics. They are working to elect Democrats who are sympathetic, a foreign government, to elect Democrats who are sympathetic to them on immigration and working to defeat President Trump through Mexican consulates that are across the United States.
Peter, I have to ask you a question. It's when I first started talking about George Soros, I just thought I had discovered something new, and I hadn't. There were very few people that were dumb enough to take him on. I didn't know the rules. Yeah. You don't take on George Soros. You know what I mean? So I exposed all this stuff, and because I thought it was new. It is so clear. Your sources are so clear. The names of everyone who says it, who's on the committees, who's using the money, who's here in America, who's overseas, all of it is so clear and clearly laid out. Why don't we know about any of this until now? Why did it take you to come out and put this all together?
Well, a great question, Glenn. And you're right. I mean, you were really one of the first people to publicly take on Soros, and God bless you for doing that. I think it's a couple of things. I think, first of all, Mexico has a reputation for being kind of a sleepy, corrupt government, and people don't take them seriously. I think we should. Mexico, think about this for a second, Glenn. Mexico has 53 consulates in the United States. 53. In contrast, the two other countries with the most are China and the United Kingdom with 6 and 7. So they have this vast network in the United States. And I think that, you know, they have masked what they're doing quite effectively. People that are aware of it, that are, you know, some of these NGOs, you mentioned Soros, they're NGOs funded by Bill Gates and others, who talk about the fact that for them, and again, these are their words, for them, immigration is about transforming the United States. This is a quote from 2023 that I think lays out the fact that they want this to be silenced. Again, this is from 2023. The head of the Mexican news agency, which is like their sort of Associated Press, he says, quote, we are quietly carrying out the reconquest of our territories in the U.S. taken from us in 1848. The reconquest of the Aztec territory is silent, and the day that the gringos realize this, their diabolical fundamentalism will become macabre. In other words, we need to keep this quiet. We don't want to talk about it publicly, because when the gringos, as he says, find out, they're going to be really, really angry about it. So we need to recognize what's going on, have an honest conversation about it. There are dozens of these quotes in the book from Mexican officials, and we go through and name the Mexican government officials who were at the center of the LA riots last year, who are manipulating our politics.
Okay, so I want you to go through, I mean, I cannot urge you. This is, and you know me, I will talk highly about books that I really like and I think are important. This book is probably the most important book you can read I think in the last 5 or 6 years, there is so much information here. I think this is a nation's work, honestly. This, I hope, is with the president and his people and at the DOJ, if they were useful at all. But this is the most important book you can read. It's called The Invisible Coup by Peter Schweizer. Peter has been on, if you've been listening to me for a long time, he is a friend. He has been on the program over and over again. He's done a lot of great stuff. This is the most important book. You want to understand what we're really up against and who our enemies really are. Enough of this mamby-pamby, oh, well, we just have to be nice to the rest of the world. No, we will be nice to the rest of the world if they're not trying to destroy us. All right, so Peter, take me through the most incriminating comments from the people in Mexico and from the NGOs to show us this is not just a few people saying this. This is not just an AOC. This is coordinated at the highest levels.
Yeah, there are numerous quotes from the Mexican government I can take you through in addition to the ones that I just mentioned. And the key thing to understand here, Glenn, is that this is not a recent phenomenon. This is something that they have been saying and doing for decades. And one of the things that Sheinbaum has done since she's become president is she has started playing 2 songs at every official event in Mexico. Yes. One of them is the Migrant Hymn, which is something that she had commissioned. And the lyrics to that song are about how migrants that come to the United States don't just go there to work, they go there to actually expand the flag of Mexico to include the United States.
May I give you some of the lyrics. And through my although my birth certificate says American, I'm pure Mexican. We change places, but not flags. I carry green, white, and red in my veins. Like the eagle, we fly without borders. We break through the fence that separates lands. Wow. Yeah, she had that commissioned?
Yes, she had that commissioned and written, and she plays that at a lot of her official events. The other song that she plays at a lot of official events, and again, this is all sourced, and this is all from Mexican sources, is a song called We Are More American. And in this song, its lyrics, they go on to describe how California, Texas, Arizona, and Wyoming were stolen from Mexico by the United States, and that the land was free until the gringos arrived. And then the refrain says, we, meaning Mexicans, are more American than all of the gringos. Indians from 2 continents mixed with Spanish. We are more American than the son of an Anglo-Saxon. There's a very strong ethnic component to this. And again, I could go on and on and on.
Peter, can you imagine if Donald Trump had commissioned a song to be sung that had anything like that in reverse? What people would say. Yeah. Meanwhile, the left has been saying this is not an invasion. This is not an invasion. And people believe that it's not an invasion because they know that, people are struggling to get. But the president of Mexico is commissioning these songs and playing them at her rallies. That's an invasion.
That's right. And by the way, those songs are also now being played at these protest rallies inside the United States. So when you see Mexican flags being waved in Los Angeles or in the Twin Cities right now, that's not a coincidence. We know that the flag that was waved in Los Angeles was given to that motorcycle rider. You remember that iconic picture?
Yeah.
That flag was given to him by the Mexican consulate. And they play these songs in the United States, saying we are more American than the gringos. This is our land. Let me just read a quote from a journalist.
Hang on. Ricky, can you get Matt to get those 2 songs, have them translated, and release them with the translation? So just put the translation on the screen, but those songs have got to be recorded someplace, and see if we can have that for tomorrow. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Peter. We've only got about 90 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a journalist, Antonio Frito Zapata, in 2023. This is a Mexican journalist. He says when he talks to his friends and colleagues in Mexico, they confidently explain, we are taking it back, meaning the American Southwest. So this is him, quote, so what we are witnessing with this massive legal or illegal immigration of Hispanics, mainly Mexicans, it is a silent, persistent reconquest of vast territories in the U.S. American Southwest. With a strong Mexican population, a reconquest that will have important geopolitical consequences for the future of the United States. Again, this is not me saying it. This is not some crazy lunatic saying it. These are government officials, respected journalists, and pillars of society in Mexico. And Glenn, the protests in Los Angeles last year, I named the Mexican officials that live in the United States. Think about this. There are senior Mexican government officials who live inside the United States who were fanning the flames, organizing these protests, and cheering them on. And I quote them extensively in the book.
Thank you for thinking for yourself and being part of a movement, because that's really what all of this is. If you want the full story, you want to go deeper, go to blazetv.com/Glenn. Go there right now, sign up, no interruptions, just the truth, uncensored and unfiltered. Don't just watch, take a stand. And I'll see you over there in a minute.